Welcome back, cadets, for scenario 2. This is our second training mission. It takes place on the same map, 30 by 30, with each of the level 1 buildings 4 inches by 4 inches in. Deployment rules are still the same. We roll for initiative for deployment. Whoever wins the rolls the highest gets to choose a particular corner, 1, 2, 3, 4. They have to then deploy within 4 inches of the map edge in one of these corners. The opposing team has to deploy in the opposite corner. This is going to be a little bit different than the previous. The previous round with the 2 destroyers, they're direct fire gunfighters. These two are going to be much faster missile boats. They're designed to get in quick, get out quick, hit without being seen. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys go with that speed and the ability to now use drones, use the Counter-UAS, and to be able to fire at each other without ever seeing each other. Dice remain the same as previous. The green dice is the Coral Empire. The blue dice is the Canada League. Let's roll. We have 1 for the Coral Empire and 5 for the Canada League. The Canada League is piloting a Tzchock. The Tzchock has 6 missiles. We're going to deploy in this corner as far back as we can possibly go. The Black Whip is the fastest Corvette that we have. Park himself as far back in the corner as they can go. Why are we parking as far back as we can go? Missiles that these guys have a range of 30 inches. It is not going to take much before we hit that 30-inch range. It's going to be over really, really quickly, I think. Let's roll for initiative. Round 1. Coral Empire goes first, they roll the 4. On 3 is the Canada League. When you have a look at your movement modifiers, you'll notice that 17 inches is the highest movement modifier that you can get, and that's already a +3. But the Black Whip can move up to 18 inches, so we're going to take advantage of that because there's a special defensive bonus called a burst. And that means that it's going to be -1 attack value to the first attack against Black Whip. And because the Coral Empire is just so ridiculously aggressive, we're going to sprint out there fast as possible. We're going to have our back to the edge of the map. We'll see how that goes. That's movement phase done. He has moved for 18 inches. That gives him the 3. And we've got to keep in mind that first attack, we'll note that down, is going to come under burst rules. This guy has now a direct line of sight, and it is literally 30 inches away, which puts him just inside maximum range. Because he dashed, he can only fire 1 weapon. That's going to be a missile. It's going to be direct fire. So let's work that out now. Because the Tzchock is a freshly deployed unit, they automatically get an armor bonus of +3. This is where it gets interesting, guys. Now we go over to the reactivity stage. This is where the automated reactivity chassis really come into their own. You see, these guys have more defenses than just smoke. Now we only have the 1 missile coming in from this guy, so we're going to work that out now. The missile attack value is 9. Coming straight in here, it is a face-to-face attack because there is a direct line of sight. The Tzchock has a chassis of 5 with defensive bonus for being freshly deployed and unactivated at 3. We sum those together, that's 8. Now, what he's going to do before we deploy smoke is there's an added layer of defense for these guys. And what they're able to do now is deploy active protection systems in order to see if they can shoot the missile down, and that saves us a whole bunch of working out later on. On a roll of 5 or higher, we only roll the 4, that missile will be shot down. So we tick off an active protection system tick. So the Tzchock only has 5 remaining, and that missile comes through, aimed straight at the chassis. Now, the anti-missile system didn't work. What we're going to do instead is we're going to smoke up. That gives him an extra bonus of 4. The chassis armor is already 5, plus 4 makes 9. That missile attack value is 9, so the missile misses. So now it is the Tzchock's turn. Currently sitting in a smoke field. We're going to move. How far can we cruise? We'll look at our arc sheet. We can cruise 9 inches. That's going to take us here. If I have a look, yes, that does take away line of sight. We'll have our back to the edge of the map. Now I'm only cruising for 9 inches. Let's have a look at our movement modifiers. Let's see what a buff we get for there. And we'll get +1 now. We lose the 3 because we have now moved and we have activated. So that gives us rid of protection for being freshly deployed. And the smoke plume stays here, it doesn't come with us. So I only get an armor buff of 1 for moving there. In order to target the Black Whip, I need to set up a drone. So the first thing I'm going to do is tick off a drone on my arc sheet. That's that done. Now the drone goes flying into the air. I can now start getting targeting data from the Black Whip, but the Black Whip has defenses. It has a Counter-UAS. It has 5 of those. We're going to take off one of those charges to shoot the drone down on a 5 or better. I roll a 6, the drone is shot down, and that means that I can't make any indirect fire here. We come back to initiative. Coral Empire rolls a 6, Canada League rolls a 5, Coral Empire goes first. Black Whip can move for 12 inches. We're going to move. We have to keep facing towards the enemy. I can't put my back to the building and still shoot even though I have drones. In forward arc, you have to be facing the enemy that you're targeting. Now we have moved 12 inches. That gives me a movement bonus of 2, but I've only cruised. There's no line of sight between the 2 combatants because this building is in the way. So now we go on to our targeting phase. And this is going to be a top attack, targeting the dorsal plate. The Tzchock here has a dorsal armor rating of 5, plus the 1 gives us a total of 6 armor rating. We know that the missile has an attack value of 9, so that's not looking too great for the Tzchock right now. You've got to send a drone up, and if there's a drone coming up, like we know from the previous round, now the Tzchock gets to be able to send one of its Counter-UASs on a roll of 5 or 6. Oh, we rolled a 2, not looking good for the Tzchock. So that means that the drone stays up in the air. The Black Whip, which has 4 missiles, is now going to shoot all 4 missiles indirectly, top attack, onto the Tzchock. And the Tzchock has an active protection system, and we still have 4 remaining. So in order to stay alive, we're going to roll dice, 1, 2, 3, 4, to try and shoot down those 4 missiles. We'll be able to shoot them down if we roll a 5 or 6, and we have taken down, we've shot down 2 missiles, but 2 missiles get through the active protection system. So let's now resolve the damage. This is not looking good for the Tzchock, ladies and gentlemen. We have a total of 5 for the dorsal armor, plus 2 for movement, takes us to 6. We've shot down 2 of the missiles, but we're also going to deploy smoke. That takes us to 3. That gives us then a total of 7 armor rating versus the 9 from the missiles. The difference there is 2. So we're going to take 4 structure, and that, ladies and gentlemen, in turn 2, kills the Tzchock. The Tzchock only has 4 structure, and those 2 missiles have gotten through. Ladies and gentlemen, the Coral Empire has it.